Good afternoon everyone. As I said in my game collection video, I was going to do a wee bonus video of my Shelf of Shame. So these are all the games that I've either only played once or I've not managed to get to the table. Now, just before we start, there are a few expansion boxes mixed in here, so I'm just going to skip over those and I'll point them out as we go. So starting in the left here, you can see we've got a couple of Eclipse boxes. They're expansions, so we'll not talk about them. Because the base game is in my shelf with my big collection. So the first game we're going to look at is this one here, which is a game called Bazaar. Now this is actually an old Sid Saxon game where you are basically trading gems. So you've got different combinations of gems and you are trying to fulfill these gem contracts, and each game you're going to have a set of rules for trading gems of a certain colour for gems of another colour. So it's almost like a kind of... It's like a kind of gem puzzle where you're looking at the most efficient trades to try and get the gems to fulfill the contracts, and you're trying to fulfill them as efficiently as possible by using the least amount of gems. So yeah, it's quite an interesting game. I've just not managed to get it to the table. It's got similarities to Century Spice Road because you're trading, cubes of one colour for cubes of another colour, but it's a much older design and it's a wee bit more free form, I think. So it will be one I do want to try at some point. I've just not really managed to find the group for it. Underneath that we've got it's a Gluck of, I can't even pronounce this. It's basically Coal Baron, the card game. I picked this up at Tabletop Scotland, not last year, but the one the year before, and this year should I say, but the year before, and yeah, I've just not managed to play it. I've played the board game version, which I really enjoyed. The card game's supposed to be really good as well, but again, I've just not had a chance to get it to the table. Okay, so moving to the next set of games. At the top, we've got a game called Roundhouse, which is a Euro game set in a big Chinese roundhouse, so it's like a kind of rondel worker placement game. It got pretty good reviews. I like the look of it because of the whole idea of this big rondel and the kind of ancient and the kind of Chinese theme as well. I thought was pretty cool. But yeah, I've just not had a chance to get that one played. Underneath, we've got a shrink wrapped copy of Otis. So this is an interesting game where you are basically diving down and trying to collect resources and fulfill contracts, and it has this conveyor belt mechanic. So when you use a worker, that worker goes to the bottom and the other ones move up and they become easier to use. It's quite an interesting mechanic. I picked this up as part of another order on, I think it was Chaos Cards, and I got it really cheap, so that's the main reason I picked it up. But as you can see, it's still in shrink, so I've just not had a chance to try this one out. But it is supposed to be quite good. It's also got a solo mode as well, which apparently is quite a good solo mode, so yeah, I'll maybe check that out. Underneath that, we've got First Martians. So this is basically a sci-fi version of Robinson Crusoe. It is a kind of co-op, survival game. I've actually got some of the pieces here, the miniatures, and I've actually painted them. Yeah, and these kind of bright white colours and things, make them quite kind of bold and make them pop on the table. And it's just unfortunate I've not had a chance really to play this one. Supposedly it's pretty good, and the rulebook was a bit of a disaster, but the revised rulebook's okay, and it has an app as well. So yeah, I think it would be a solid game, but again, I've just not had a chance to try it. Underneath here, we've got Kingdom Builder. Now, this is actually a German copy. Well, it's dual language, so German and English. My dad actually picked this one up for me when he was visiting Germany. He's seen it in a board game shop, and I think he paid like €7 for it. This is years ago. I've played it once. I actually quite enjoy Kingdom Builder. It's really, really abstract, and there's next to no theme, a bit like Dominion. But it is a good, solid game. I like the fact that the victory conditions change every game. There's a good variety there, just like Dominion. But yeah, it's just not been one that's been really popular with my gaming group. We played it once, and the other people it didn't seem to gel with them. So as a result, it's just really been sitting in the shelf since. But yeah, I actually quite enjoy it. So hopefully at one point I'll get to play it again. But until then, here it remains. Okay, moving on to the next bit here. I'm just going to move the light. Okay, there. Sorry, folks, just for the jump cut there. I had to move the light a wee bit. I'm just going to use the zoom in now, just so that I'm not getting in the way of the light. So at the top here, we've got time stories. Now, this I have played the base scenario with the group. We completed the Asylum one. We enjoyed it. We've picked up one expansion, and we've just never managed to get the group together to play it. And looking online at some of the reviews of the newer expansions, it's kind of put me off. And also the fact it's a bit of a dead system now. So I was considering selling it, but at the moment I'm just kind of hanging on to it. I just don't know if it's going to get played, and I don't know if I'm going to pick up other expansions when there's other things out there like Unlock and the Exit series, which just seem to be better. So yeah, that's Time Stories. I think when it came out, lots of buzz, and yeah, it was supposed to be a really, really unique experience, but now it just seems to have just kind of fallen by the wayside. So I don't know. We'll see what happens. Underneath that, we've got a recent acquisition. We've got Rampage. So this was renamed Terror in Meeple City because of just because of basically copyright reasons, because Rampage is the name of the original arcade game, and they weren't really cleared to use it. So this is the older version before the name change. Functionally, the game's the same. It's a dexterity game where you control big Godzilla-like monsters, and you're basically eating meeples, knocking over buildings, chucking cars at each other. I'm sure it's a lot of fun. Again, I've just not had a chance to get it played yet. But that's a recent acquisition, so there's still plenty of time. Underneath this, we've got Lords of Zidit. Now, this is one of these games that's based in the same universe as Seasons. So it's like its sister game. It's like a programming game where basically you're moving around a map, you're programming your actions, you're collecting resources, trying to defeat monsters. There's 3 different victory conditions, and I think to win the game you need to make sure you're not last place in any of them, which is really quite an interesting victory condition for a game. The pieces are gorgeous. I picked this up dead cheap. I think it was £13, but I've just not had a chance to play it. And I think it'll be a solid game. I don't think it'll blow me away, but it's a really nice production, and I think it would be good fun, so hopefully I'll get to try it. Okay, underneath that we've got Quirkle. Now, Quirkle was actually bought as a present for me. It's an abstract tile placement game. I'm not huge in abstracts in general. This is quite a good game, but again, it's not really hit the table just because, it's not really... Abstract games just don't seem to be a go-to for my group. So yeah, if you're looking for an abstract game though, apparently it's really good. I'm not very good at it. When it comes to these kind of games that involve, spatial awareness and tile placement, I'm not very good at them. So that's probably another reason why I'm not quite as keen on it. But that's Quirkle. So it was a really nice present to get, but unfortunately it's just not really been played. Underneath that, we've got the granddaddy Civilization game. We've got Sid Meier's Civilization, the original one, which I think was released in 2011. If memory serves me correctly. This is a big, bombastic Civ game that will take hours to play, lots and lots of complex systems, but I think it's pretty thematic. I would love to get this played. If I had a day where I could just sit down and get this played with a group, even like a wee 3-player game of this would be amazing. I've got both expansions for it, so I'm really keen to try this one out, but again, it's just finding the time and finding the group. So I'm probably going to hang on to it though. I don't think I'll get rid of this one anytime soon. Okay folks, what we're going to do now is we're going to jump cut because I'm going to have to set up the light for the other half of the shelf. Okay, so I'll be back in a couple of minutes. Okay, welcome back for the second half of the Shelf of Shame. So the first game we're going to look at is this one here, Merchant of Venus. Now this is one that I picked up at the First Tabletop Scotland. It's one I've had my eye on for quite a bit of time. It's quite an old game, I think dating back from the 1980s, and it's basically a trading game where you're moving around and picking up and delivering resources. So this one has the original rule set. It also has the updated rule set from FFG, so it's effectively 2 games in one. It's a really nice production, but yeah, I've just not had a chance to get it to the table. I think it takes quite a while to play, and there's a few rules to teach, so it's just one that's, it's just unfortunately just not been played yet. I will say though, there's a podcast I listen to, and there's a gentleman on it called Eric Summerer, and I believe this is his favourite game of all time. So I'm sure it's really good, but yeah, I just haven't had a chance to play it. Moving down, we've got one here, Clash of Cultures. Now this is basically a Civilization style game. It's actually very similar to the video game version of Civilization, because you're controlling a race, and you have buildings and units. You're moving around the map, exploring new territories, dealing with bandits, researching technologies, gathering resources, all that kind of stuff. I've played this once 2-player, and I really enjoyed it, but it takes a good while to play. It's a fair bit to teach. Again, it's just not had a chance to play it, but I think with the right group, this would be a really, really excellent game. So I'm hoping I'll get the opportunity at some point to try it again. Moving down, we've got Marvel Legendary. So this is an upper deck game, and it's basically a deck builder that's based on the Marvel universe. This one, I've played it a couple of times with my girlfriend, and we quite enjoyed it, but she's not really a gamer, so we've just not really played it as much as I would have liked. It seems to work better at lower player counts. The art's pretty decent. Some of the text is quite hard to read because there's no background to the text, so it's like text on top of comic book art, which can make it quite difficult to read. I think they've changed this with the newer sets. They've added a wee border, which is a really good decision. But yeah, it's a pretty good deck builder, but yeah, again, it's just not really, just don't really have a group for it. Moving down, this was also bought at Tabletop Scotland. This is Assault of the Giants, which is a game that's set in the Dungeons and Dragons universe. It's basically a dudes in a map game. Each player controls a faction of giants. They've all got different victory conditions and ways of getting points, really. And it's got your usual kind of move around and capture territory, attack each other, try and fulfill quests and objectives, and things like that. It's got this interesting mechanic where you have a hand of cards for your actions, and when you play one, depending on the cards that you've played before or the cards that you've played after, it might make it more powerful. So there is a kind of optimum order to play your actions, but obviously you want to pick actions that suit you at the time as well. So there's a wee bit of a balance there. So that's quite interesting. But yeah, I just never had a chance to play this one. So yeah, fingers crossed we'll get it played at some point. Moving on, the next set of games. At the top here we've got Yokohama. Now I actually played a friend's copy of this. I picked it up because it was like £20 or £15 from Chaos Cards. It was an absolute steal for the money. Really nice production, really interesting kind of take on worker placement almost. Yeah, and kind of moving around a map and activating different, well, it's more of like an action selection really. But yeah, it's got some interesting mechanics there, some nice art, and yeah, I'm sure it'll hit the table at some point again, but again, I've only had a chance to play it once. So moving down, we've got Mare Nostrum, which is another Civilization style game. This one's a wee bit more abstracted. You play one of the ancient races, and basically you're kind of generating resources, trading them with others, cashing them in for new units and buildings, and I think there's 4 different ways you can win the game. So it's a wee bit like Civilization in the sense that there's a couple of strategies for victory. It's an Academy Games game, so the production's pretty good. Yeah, I would really like to try this one, especially the full complement of 5 players. But again, it just hasn't hit the table yet, although this is a more recent acquisition. Underneath that, we've got Imperial. Now, this is the other Matt Skirts game that I own here. I've got a friend who has Imperial 2030, which is effectively the same game, but just with set in a kind of modern world, whereas this is set in, I think it's a pre-World War I era world. And basically, it's a game that is... It looks like a war game, like a Risk-style area control war game, but it's actually really a stocks and kind of negotiation game, really, where you're just kind of playing the market. So if you own the most bonds in a country, you control what it does. But at the end of the game, depending on how well the country has done, that's, it's going to pay out. So effectively, you're trying to buy shares in countries that are doing well, so at the end of the game you will cash out. And you can even buy two countries, and you can use one to bully the other to try and make the country you've invested in stronger. So there's lots of interesting kind of interaction and play in this style of game. But yeah, I've just not had a chance to get this copy at the table, but I have played 2030 a couple of times, which is really good. Underneath that, we've got Francis Drake. I picked this one up from The Works for £15, which is an absolute steal for this game. Lovely production. I've played it once at a gaming group meet, and I really enjoyed it. Again, a more recent acquisition, but yeah, hopefully I'll get to play it a wee bit more. But basically, you're going around these different... It's like two halves to the game, really. The first half, you are setting up for your journey, so it's like worker placement. You're going around the board and you're picking up various resources to help you on your voyage. And you can't backtrack, so if you jump really far ahead to get a good space, then you're not going to get all the ones in between. There's a nice balancing act there. Similar to another game called Tecado, which uses a similar kind of mechanic. And then the second half, you're sending your ships to various different places, and you're just basically trying to conquer forts and take down ships and collect treasures and stuff like that. And it's all resolved using these discs that fire off in a certain order, and you're putting them face down, so you're it's a hidden kind of planning phase. So that's pretty cool. I really enjoyed my play of it. I played 3-player. I think it would play better at 4 and 5, but hopefully I'll get another chance to play this one. Underneath this, we've got Scythe, the Rise of Fenris expansion. Now, this probably does have a right to be here, because even though I've played Scythe a good number of times, I've only played the first two campaign games of the Rise of Fenris. I love Scythe. I think from what I've played so far of this expansion, it's fantastic. Unfortunately, the other people in my group aren't as keen on it, and I don't think we're going to be continuing our campaign, because there's one player who really doesn't enjoy it and just doesn't want to play it again. So until I find another group that's willing to play the campaign, I'm probably, this is not going to get played. I could crack open and just open all the modules and use them in normal games, but I do want to play through the campaign and introduce them naturally. So yeah, hoping we'll be able to get that to the table again at some point. Okay, so we're just going to go around the corner here. Maybe difficult with a light to see the last few games. So there's only 3 more. At the top there, we've got Automobile, which I've actually played a couple of times. It's a Martin Wallace game. It's a kind of heavy economic game, limited actions, but every action has a big impact. You're basically buying and selling cars. You've got to try and meet demand. There's a wee bit of player interaction there as well. I really enjoyed this one. I think it's underrated. But yeah, again, it's just not one that people seem to be clamouring to play. So as a result, it's only hit the cave table a couple of times. But yeah, it's a really good Automobile. So if you see it cheap, definitely pick it up. I think it's really, if you like that style of game, I think it's really good. Underneath that, we've got Abyss. Now, this game has got a gorgeous production. It looks absolutely beautiful. The art's just, breathtaking. The game itself is really solid as well. It's basically almost like a kind of, I wouldn't say a drafting game, but basically you're paying for cards using other cards that are like your resources, and you're picking them from a pile. So you can either take the card on offer, or you can go to the next card. But the ones that aren't picked start building up in piles, and eventually someone's going to take a big pile of cards and use them to buy things. So yeah, I've not got any of the expansions. I've heard the expansions for this are really good. But yeah, even the base game, solid. But again, it's just doesn't seem to be one that people really want to play. And finally, underneath that, we've got a Cosmos game, Steam Time, which is a kind of light steampunk kind of time travel theme. You basically have an airship, and you're going around to different times trying to change history and correct things. So the theme's a bit pasted on, but apparently it's a solid game. I picked this one up very cheap. I think it was like £12 or something from The Works. One of my friends bought a copy. He's played it. I think he quite enjoyed it, but again, I've just not had a chance to get it to the table. So hopefully at one point that will change. Okay, folks, so that was my Shelf of Shame. Hopefully that's given some insight into, the collecting and hoarding of games. you know, and something that we can maybe try and avoid in the future. I know it's difficult, especially when you've got really, really good deals. But yeah, I hope you've enjoyed this video series. In the future, I'm planning to do maybe game reviews or just more videos about, you know, maybe my favourite designers, or, you know, kind of just kind of top 5, that kind of thing. But yeah, so if you've enjoyed the video, just please like, subscribe to the channel, just let me know your thoughts, and yeah, thanks for watching. I'll see you later. Have a great day.